Welcome back to the Scale Auto Guys Workbench. Today I have a special treat for you guys. I'm going to unbox this International Transtar 4300 Eagle by AMT. This is going to be a huge build. This is going to probably be spread out over a couple of different videos, so make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss out on this build. And so let's get cracking on this. Let's take a look at what's in the box. Yeah, there's a lot of unique features on this kit. As you can see, there's plenty of parts trees, plenty of parts that goes into building this kit. There's over 200 parts. Excuse me, over 250 parts that go together to make this truck. So let's take a look at the parts trees here. And there's plenty of them, trust me. The first one, well, looks like it's got mostly your frame and suspension parts. And that's only one part of the frame. You have to build the frame. Second part comes in this next tree here. Got your inner wheels and radiator shrouds and front axle. One set of mud flaps and your other frame half. And this little guy right here, this is the ones that go up forward of the tires. Yeah, that broke off the tree. It was just kind of free floating in there. That was in one little parts bag. This next tree is all your, it looks like all your external kind of stuff. Some engine parts on there, doors. This was in a second bag. There's another tree here. This looks like it's going to be all of your, yeah, the cab parts, your sleeper, sleeper bed, sleeper cab, excuse me, sleeper cab with the bed. I saw the bed and it just kind of distracted me. Your sleeper cab parts. This next one looks like there's it's kind of a mixture. You got some engine parts here, you got some interior parts, your dashboard. Yeah, we're not done yet. Next up is this beautiful, beautiful chrome tree with that big international grill. Now, I've never seen a semi with a chrome fifth wheel plate, and so that's going to be painted. So on this kit we have not one, not two, but 3 chrome trees. Now these are some beautiful wheels. I may leave them like that, or I may throw some matte clear on them to dull them down a little bit. This one here looks like it's got your bumpers and all your external marker lights and air horns and your exhaust system. Oops, I left a fingerprint on that. Oh shucks. Okay. Well, wouldn't be a truck without a cab. And that massive, massive international hood. And it would be a little bit hard to get down the road without 10 tires. Now these are Goodyear branded tires. They got a decent tread on them. They're hollow, so they're kind of soft. Those will be nice to put together. Next up is your clear your windows, front, back, side windows, and your headlights. And those are nice and clear. Those are going to go together really nice. And it does come with like a flexible rubber hose. I'm assuming that's like an airline, so that's why I have it marked airline on the bag, so I don't lose it. And let's take a look at the, well, oh. Let's take a look at the direction sheet here. This is several pages, as you can see here, and they're pretty detailed, so that's nice. Oops, I'm knocking stuff all over. Yeah, oh, this has got posable steering as well. That's going to be unique. Maybe not unique, but kind of neat. All right. Well, you kind of get the idea of that. I knocked the cab over and the tire. Well, last but not least is the decal sheet. And it is quite a decal sheet. So you have decals, like the box art shows, decals that go all the way down the sides and around the back, I assume, and across the front of the grill and everything. So it's up to you if you want to put these on. I think it might make the truck look better. Okay. You get your trucking company label there, a few choices for license plates, and oh, this is a neat one. Monitor channel 19. Yep. This is cool. All right, like I said, this is probably going to be spread over 2 or 3 videos, because this is a pretty extensive build. And so let's get started. We're going to head over to the paint booth and get everything primed up, and get some sub-assemblies done as well. And I'll be back with you in a minute. left off in the last clip, I was just getting everything primed up and ready to go. I started painting and assembling. As you can see, I have the engine done and installed in the frame. The camera messed up on me, and I had to switch back to my old phone here to shoot this video clip. And well, as you can see, we are where we are. Word to the wise: when you are assembling this, don't do like I do. Don't pre-assemble the entire frame and then expect to just drop the engine in. It doesn't work that way. In the instruction sheet, let me get back to the correct page. It shows that the completed engine is installed as you're building the frame. There's a reason for that, and I failed to realize what it was. On the engine, in this area here and back in this area here, I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can show it to you. It doesn't show real well, but see let me grab something here so I can point this out. Okay, let me bring this in a little closer. These areas here, right here, and on the opposite side here, and back in this location back in here on each side, there are pins on the engine and transmission that go into holes into the frame on each side. If you build this frame like I have and then try to fit this engine in, you have to physically spread that frame, roll that frame open, and to get the engine to mount into the right locator pins. That isn't a huge deal, but it is a little bit more that you have to do, other than, you know, if I would have just built one side, put the supports in each side, and then, you know, put the engine here and then put this frame rail in place, it would have been a lot easier. In addition, there's little slots here and here that the radiator, there's little wings on the radiator. Those little wings fit down into those slots, and they fit kind of tight after you get the frame rails together. Again, it's not a huge deal. That is shown being put on in the same step as the engine installation. So just be mindful of that, and so that, you know, you don't have any issues. Other than that, let's continue on with the next step, which I believe is the wheels and tires, and then I believe after that is the front and rear suspension. But we are at this point, and let's continue on. One other thing that has to be installed on this past step before, doggone it, before I get to the wheels and tires, I have to install the exhaust system, which I had to paint and let dry, and that fits up in the frame too, which is still another thing. It's kind of tricky after you get it all put together. You have to kind of wiggle and snake this thing up in through here, which would be a lot easier to do before the frames are fully put together. Alright, so let me get that glued in, and then we'll get on to the wheels and tires. Okay, onto the front suspension here. Now, this is a posable front suspension. I would suggest that you test fit these pieces together before you try to apply them to the axle. After a bit of working, you can see I've sanded on it a little bit and removed some of the paint from when I primed. It still doesn't fit quite tight enough. I may have to take a little bit more off to get that gap closed, because remember, that goes into this portion of the front wheel here. So you got to make sure that it fits snugly, otherwise those tires are just going to continue, you know, they'll just be falling off. So let's get on with that. Okay, fellas, and fellettes. Hey, when you're putting this steering box together, make sure that your surfaces, your mating surfaces, are clean so that the glue will adhere naturally. What I had to do is I had to take my pin drill and I had to drill that hole out just a little bit so that this piece will fit in here. Because what you have to do is you have to fit that in there, and then you have this little tiny little collar that fits over that, And make sure that when you glue that it doesn't glue this piece, you know, because if you want posable steering, make sure that this is not glued together, so this will swing like that. So you got to make sure that when you put the glue on there, you're not gluing this piece to this backing piece. With that said, I say a lot. Anyway, let's get this put together. Where do I put that? So you got to go real easy on the glue. Just a little dab will do it. And make sure your surfaces are clean, free of paint and any chrome pieces. Make sure the chrome is cleaned off of the mating surfaces. Now I'm just going to put just a tiniest of glue, tiniest little bit of glue right here. Just, come on, there we go, just a little touch. You see, that's just a little tiny little drop of glue. Maybe just, yeah, take a little off and seat that on there. Might want to wiggle that back and forth a little bit, make sure it doesn't seat real well or whatever. I can't talk today. I'm having trouble. All right. Let's get these two halves put together. Just a tiny bit of glue. I know when you use these tubes of glue, it's kind of hard to regulate it. What I do is I just squeeze a little drop out there and then I spread it around so that it is thin. I'm not putting a big glob of glue on there. There's nothing worse than a big glob of glue. Glue bombs are the worst. Okay, that still functions. It's good. I got to clean up some of the paint work on this, but otherwise it's ready to go on the frame. Now it does go, I cleaned that spot off here so that I have something to glue to the frame right here. So, but this end here, where was it? Yeah, right here. That needs to be cleaned up. And the nice thing about doing remodels with Sharpies, you know, Sharpies, I never used to use Sharpies for anything. But well, let me see if I make sure it's sanded smooth first. Just hit it with some sandpaper there real quick. Yeah, that looks good. Now you can get out your brush paint, and that's fine. That's, you know, a good way to do it. But as you can see, just hitting it with a Sharpie in this little spot like that works just fine. And you know, it's going to be down here on the bottom of the truck. The tire's going to be in front of it. The hood's going to be covering it. It's not going to be something that's going to be seen real well. So a little bit of Sharpie on that spot is going to be just fine. Now this has a big pin and a little pin. I'm just going to put a small dab of glue right there. Spread it around. Big pin goes up top. Little pin goes down. Find the mark. There we go. Oops. Wait a second. Clean that off real quick. Wasn't expecting this, and I failed to test fit it. I'm finding that this kit has a lot of flash, especially around pins and pinholes. They're not not lining up real well. And I'm going to have to touch up the paint after I get it on there. This is unusual for me. Usually I prime first and everything kind of fits together. This kit, for some reason, it's just not going that way. So I've already primed most everything, and the paint is already, it's making a tight situation even tighter. Let's see if I can get that in there. I have this clamp on here trying to keep this exhaust system from getting ripped off of there, and it's just being a pain. There we go. Alright. Now, let's reapply some glue here just a little bit, like before. Just a little bit. Spread it around a little bit. I'm actually going to have to come in and paint this with a brush, and the Sharpie is not going to get into the spots where I need it to go. There we are. Get on there. And one of the problems with using tube glue is, especially when it's a little older, it gets a little stringy. And that's probably one of the things that people don't like about it. I don't know. I've never talked to anybody about it. Or at least I've never had anybody express why they don't like using the tube glue. I just hear them say that they don't like using the tube glue. It doesn't feel like it's going in quite the way I want it to. Yeah, it's not even touching the frame. I don't see any glue transfer. Trying to make that hole a little bit bigger. Son of a gun. All right. Be back in a second. Okay, guys. As you can see, I have the front suspension almost completed. I don't have the shocks installed yet. I wanted to paint those something other than black, and the paint's still drying, but I can still get in there and install those when I'm done. And the suspension, as you can see, is movable. Now onto the rear suspension. In the diagram, or should I say in the directions, it gives you a very vague picture here on how that goes together. It's, for me, it was a little confusing. It took me a minute to figure out what they were trying to convey there, because as you notice in the rest of the pictures, they barely show that assembly, not even down in here, so or up in this one. So I was trying to figure out, okay, how does this go together? Well, I figured it out. You have your spring. This piece here, this is part number 17. Part number 17 goes, part number 17, this is the one right there, goes on the back of the spring, set up like this. Okay, it just attaches there. Part number 16 comes over the top like that, and then part number 45, which is this little rod here, goes into the hole there. And then you repeat this assembly for the driver's side, and then you can attach it to your frame. So let me get that put all together, and we're going to have to obviously do some touch-up painting. No big deal. Get that done, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, other than just some touch-up painting, these are all the components for the rear axles. Also, of course, the rear springs and the pieces that go to that. There's quite a few bits and pieces that go together with this thing. Yeah, it's kind of, well, it's kind of cool, actually. So let's get these tandem axles put together. There is one more thing I do need to trim off the tree. And where is that part? Yeah, right here. The main drive shaft. I forgot to clip that off. So let's get that done, because that's got to go in before I put the forward axle in. And kind of get this shaped up a little bit, and we'll be ready to go. Now, one end of this drive shaft, whoop, get it focused here. Whew. This pin on this end here is fatter than the one on this end, so I'm guessing yeah, the fatter pin goes in the transmission and the thinner pin goes in the rear axle there. Alright, let's get this together. Alright fellas, that wraps up this portion of the build. This is part one of hopefully just a two-part video. As you can see, I have the wheels and tires all mounted onto the frame now. The front wheels are still posable. These just push on. You just push them. I held on to the differential and pushed until I felt those click into place. That's all you have to do. You don't want to put a whole lot of force onto it, but you do need to push them until you feel the little click. So this finishes up this portion of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon so you know when my next video comes out. Stay tuned for part two. We're going to get into the interior building and the cab paint and the final assembly of this truck. So thank you for watching Scale Auto Guys Workbench. See you in part two. Have a great day.